Ladies and gentlemen, it's time at last for the final session of Leaders Week London here on the Tech and Innovation stage. And it's time to find some untapped value in how you can reach your fans using Google Search. This will be fascinating, so let's bring on the experts. We're joined by Marvin Brischke, Sports Lead and Search Product Partnerships at Google, Sergi Talavera, Head of SEO at DAZN, and Vadim Drozdovski, VP of Growth at WSC Sports. And in the moderating hot seat, welcoming back the Chief Revenue Officer at Leaders Group, Eileen Silverglide.
All right, folks, let's get ready to bring it. We're going to take this session home. So we're actually going to start with a little bit of audience and panel participation. So we're here to talk about Google. I'm going to try the entire time not to use Google as a verb. It's very difficult to moderate this particular panel. What is the sporting event that you care the most about getting real-time information about? Anybody want to shout out some most favorites? Masters, okay. What else?
Super Bowl.
Super Bowl, great.
Premier League.
Premier League. And panelists, Vadim, for you, what's the one you care the most about?
Yeah, probably Champions League.
Champions League. Sergi?
I would say that or La Liga.
Okay.
Yes.
And the Bundesliga, of course, as a German.
I love it. Tremendous. So you're going to see why I asked you that question in just a moment. But number one, we'll be taking your questions throughout the panel. We're going to talk about why and how this entire product and partnership came to be. We're going to talk about some of the results and metrics. And then we're going to give a little window into the future, what you can expect from DAZN, WSC, and Google. So let's go ahead. Where's my clicker? And we'll show you Google Search OneBox. Marvin, do you want to give just 1 second on what folks are seeing right now?
So what you're seeing right now is basically an organized way of looking at sports results, looking at sports content on Google Search. So when users look for a search in, as you said, the Masters, the Bundesliga, this is basically what they see first.
Tremendous. So let's go ahead and set the stage. So Sergi, I'm going to go to you first, please. When you thought about media fragmentation and how fans were experiencing getting the information that they needed real time, what were some of the challenges that you saw?
Well, obviously, one of the main challenges that we had is that users don't know sometimes where a specific game is happening. Obviously, in the last few years, we have seen, like, for example, DAZN in our case, many new players getting into the space. In some cases, a league can have up to 3 different players having content both live and on demand afterwards. So for us, it's very important that sports audience interested in the leagues that we own know the content that we have available. And thanks to innovations like this one coming from Google, we have been able to make that knowledge available for users in a much more organized way, I would say.
And so historically, how would fans get their information? What were some of the challenges with that?
Well, obviously there are many ways. You would have traditional above-the-line advertising where users would be for the first time familiar with a new broadcaster, having the content through news, both on TV or publishers. More recently, Google has been helping on that front as well. Mm-hmm. But obviously there's a huge variety of sources of information where that can be found.
Yep. So Kadim, from your perspective, what were some of the, shall we say, flaws in how fans were able to get the news and the video that they needed?
So I would say that I would not call them flaws. I just think that the transition to digital was kind of abrupt in a sense, and on linear was quite easy. You flip through the channels, you find what you're looking for. Kind of everybody knows where to find their stuff and so on. But on digital, what Sergi meant about fragmentation, you really need kind of a new aggregator to help you to ask the right question, to point you at the right answer. And I think that the flaws in early stage of that digitization is basically like answers were scattered. It's really hard for a person to connect. For example, I'm asking, like I want to check out the score, or I want to say like I'm looking for Manchester United, like or Dortmund. It may tell me, like the score, and may show me the lineup for a game, but I would not know where I can watch the game. And I think that kind of Google thinking, what are all the answers that I need to provide to a person that's searching for a player, for a match, for a competition, is kind of the solution to a lot of these flaws.
So make it come alive for us. And I'm actually going to go ahead, Marvin, and skip to the next slide here. So from your perspective at Google, when you think about that fan experience and how they're trying to, from before the live event to the live event and afterward, where did you find that fans were, sort of again hitting some of those roadblocks in terms of getting information?
I think for us it very much starts with like the user question, right? And that is different in the stage of like the journey to watching sports. It very much started for us like 10 years ago with like the basic information, like Vadim was saying, like scores and lineups and all of that, which is why we brought the OneBox to life. And more recently, we found the biggest questions users actually have is like, where can I watch the game tonight? Which is very timely, right? So in that user journey, we see that like most of the searches actually happen within the first like 60 minutes before the game, during the match, and then it kind of like trails off afterwards. And what we tried is like mapping this user interest to the content. So we've been starting a few recently to work with official broadcasters, with leagues, to surface this content and boost discoverability of it. So if you think about it in like a time scale in that sense, is prior to the match, you want to like know who's playing, what the lineup is, what their last matches looked like, highlights from these, what the standings are, to pretty much give you context. Why should I watch that match? And then once it kicks off, you basically want to know, where can I watch it? That is one rather easy answer to question, or to answer. The bigger one really is it worth my time? There's so much more content out there now and so much happening at the same time. So we need to give the users and the fans in that context information to like, why should they bother spending those 90 minutes now in front of their TV or mobile phone even? So that is the really timely question that we try to answer, and we try to like integrate and like give users snippets and really guide them to if it's worth their time or not.
So something you mentioned when we were getting ready for the conversation really struck me is that there's the avid fan who's going to find their information no matter what. And then there's just the buzz around, oh, did you see this play? You're talking to someone in the office, you're talking to a friend, and all of a sudden you're engaged. Any kind of a jump ball question, how does that change in terms of delivering this product for those different types of fans?
I think it kind of changes in the sense that, and to Vadim's point, like previously I knew where I would get my stuff from, whereas nowadays the user base is also much more fragmented in the sense that I might watch, like if I'm a younger follower, like we talked about this on different stages with like Gen Zs, it's much shorter amount of like attention span in a sense. So I might want to like get that immediate video from the match that just happened right now. So that moment I want to relive, I want to reshare it, I want to get everybody know about it. So I think user behavior just changed that they expect more from the broadcasters nowadays.
That's interesting. So to that point, Vadim, I'd love you to share with the group a little bit around the actual technology. So let me go ahead and go then to the next slide. If you wouldn't mind just speaking to this. So one thing, ladies and gentlemen in the audience, that I learned in doing my figure search is just the stunning speed with which you all can clip video and get it to the fans. So can you actually just, I don't want to get too technical. We have a variety of skill sets here in the audience, but just give us a sense of actually what happens.
Yeah, sure. So I think in relation to the last page that you saw, you understand that, and we all understand, right? We're all sports fans. We understand where are we most interested in what's happening is during the game. And that peak audience, that peak interest is during when the game happens. Obviously, that's what Google sees in all of the search results. And our technology is creating, clipping, creating, publishing the content in real time. That's what we do across all of our technology stack, right? So it was kind of like the perfect scenario for us, where we saw there is an opportunity here to basically connect with that untapped audience, the audience that did not plan perhaps before the game to come watch the game, but now when they search for results, when they want to get updated, we can give them that right content at the right moment, and that would make all the difference for them if they would want to watch it or not want to watch it, if they want to go to the own and operate or not. So the technology is fairly straightforward. So we take in the content, we take in the streams, we identify each and every clip as the game progresses, we cut it up nicely, neatly, like an editor would in real time. In the sense of this particular product, we actually even crop it using a proprietary technology called Magic Crop to a perfection.
You made that up, Magic Crop.
Exactly, right now. Magic Crop, right? So we actually follow the ball. We're not centralizing the crop. We're following the ball to make it perfect. And then we add the contextual graphics of score, the action, and all of that. We package it all into one product, which is continuously updating as the game progresses in real time. So we add key play after key play. So like a minute and a half after something happens, you already can see it on Google, on the live, basically on the OneBox. So this becomes kind of your thought about, hey, I want to catch up to something, I can go there, and perhaps like then we can add a call to action button saying, you want to go watch more? Click through here, go to the own and operated. It's a kind of a perfect storm of huge audiences, engaged at the right moment with the right product.
Yep. Sergi, from your perspective, what has the partnership meant to you with WSC's capabilities? And sorry, before you answer that, Cameron, I'm having a little technical difficulty with the Slido. Can someone just real quick help out? Cameron, my Slido account got wiped out. So I know there's questions coming in. I'd love to take them. So Sergi, back to you, please.
Yes, obviously WSC has helped us to be there when the game is happening with video content almost in real time, which is something that in the technology that WSC has been able to create, it's critical for us to appear in there. When it comes to the whole OneBox experience that Google built, and it's been kind of improving over the last few years, and specifically talking from the search perspective, which is kind of the area that's my expertise. We want to be part of that search demand. We want the zone to take part of that journey of users searching for big leaks, and we know that there are huge volumes. As we were saying on the previous slide, the big peak happens when, as soon as the game is kicking off. It happens. Why it happens? Normally, and again, speaking personally, you would normally be searching for the actual score or whatever other games will be going on that specific league. What we are doing now with this partnership with WSC and with Google is kind of change a bit that behavior. Before you would be searching and would be getting there the live score, and that's all you would be able to get out there at the dinner table with your family. Now you know that at the same time you also have there a thumbnail with real live action. So if someone else, and I'm not gonna kind of disclose much because we're gonna be seeing it in a sec, but if someone is messaging on WhatsApp telling you, have you seen that amazing goal that Benzema just scored? You know that now on Google, searching for that result that before you would just be seeing, okay, that's how the game is going on. Now you can actually click there and see that highlight straight away, put back your phone and continue chatting with your family.
So how many dinner table conversations do you think have been ruined?
They're not ruined, they're enhanced.
They're enhanced, right? I think it depends on the eye of the chef. But let's go ahead and actually have a look. And if we can go ahead and cue the video, please, to actually have a look at the technology here. Here we go.
So I can walk you guys through. So basically, it's this is kind of, the first clip will be the kickoff. Everybody knows it started. It will be like a minute after the kickoff happened. Then if we click through, or it will just like go automatically because it's a story, right? Like every other story, you can see the contextual graphics, the logos. You'll see the score. You will see the action that's taking place. And this will be updated in real time. So the AI would actually find the right moment, clip it up, as I mentioned before, and add it to the story as it progresses. So fans can actually rely on this when they go to OneBox. They can rely on this to get caught up to the action as it's happening. And then, it's not like broadcasters, so Sergi can ask himself, So why would I have that, just to catch up fan? That's great, like I like fans, I want to get caught up myself, but from like speaking from the DAZN point of view, why should I do that, right? So I assume DAZN, Sergi can answer for himself, but my perception is like, this is a moment that didn't exist before. That moment where a person searching for something could only see the score, now can see the action and can make an active decision to do something based on that action that he's seeing right there at the right moment at the right time. Because otherwise he'll go on TikTok, right? Like my next move is I'm going to Facebook, I got a message on WhatsApp, that's it, I'm gone. You need to capture that attention at the right moment of that time. That's the way you do it in the digital first stage. And that provides all the value that Sergi can speak about.
Right, and I think that's a good transition moment. So let's talk about some of the results. So, this is obviously very impressive, and what I love about it is that it keeps the fan in one box, so to speak, and that you can, as you just mentioned, Kadim, you can do whatever it is you want to do in the same place. But when you set out to build the partnership, what were those key performance metrics that you agreed on as a team that you wanted to achieve? And to the extent that you can, maybe share whether or not those are hitting the mark.
So on one side, we know that there's huge search demand. So we, as I was saying earlier, we want to take part of that search demand and expose them to our brand. So that's one of the first objectives, kind of that association of getting a user to seeing highlights and understanding that the DAZN is the actual platform where you can watch the content live if you happen to have time and sign up to the platform. So on one side is that fact that we can get the awareness for our potential users to understand that content is available on the DAZN. On the second hand, obviously there's the fact that those users, as you were saying there, there's a call to action for the user to come straight away to the DAZN, and if they are already a user subscribed, they can watch the content straight away or sign up if they are not. So there's a part of acquisition happening there, which is obviously very important for us. Changes a lot depending on the time of the season. So I wouldn't say acquisition is the one key driver. I would say more like the awareness and the huge reach that we can get out of it. And then obviously the fact that that huge reach allows you to monetize this through different ways. So volumes are big, both from the traffic that we get from Google to the stories, and then from the stories directly to DAZN.com. It's over 10% the click-through rate that we are getting from users actually getting onto the story and clicking afterwards to the watch live, and then they can decide what they want to do.
So you're looking at impressions and click-through rate?
We would be looking at impressions on the Google side, then the actual traffic that we are getting, and the click-through rate, and finally the conversions that we are getting.
Yep. And Kadim, how about you? What are the standards that you're holding yourself up to?
So I think that the number one standard for everyone, like in the audience who has ever been like a rights holder, like producing content, is obviously making sure that the content is top-notch, right? We have to have the content, like this is our face, like in front of our fans, right? We cannot disappoint them with poor content. Then after that, that's the baseline, right? You cannot like be below that, but you need to be so much above that. So when we started thinking about the product, we thought about it performance first. What does it need to do? Why is it there, right? Like it's not just there to entertain fans, it's there to drive a certain engagement from the fans. So what does it mean? It means we need to constantly optimize, A/B test, around which content goes when, in order to drive that performance, drive that engagement, drive that click-through. How fast do we need to be there? How low latency do we need to every page to load in order for people not to drop off? So all the mindset around this product is, does it deliver the value that Sergi and other broadcasters are looking for? That's kind of what we look for.
And how slow is too slow?
I would say that, like you want to be like immediate, right? Like you like that's the perfect word.
It wants to feel like real time, right?
Like that's where the world is moving at. Like even when you're waiting for 1 second for a page to load, you already feel like, you remember that time, like all the ones that are older, like between us, remember how pages would load like 20 years ago, right? Where we'll lose, like open a tab and go make coffee or something like that. So that happened once. Now we can't even stand a second, or like in a fraction of a second already, like something's bothering me here. So, and that's the same thing about, catching up to content. You saw a goal updated on the score. You want to see it. That's the expectation. I want to see it on the story. There's a story format in live. You want to see it there. So really have to be sharp and efficient at delivering that consistently.
Yep. So Marvin, how about you? So you put it all together with the product. How are you measuring success?
Well, for us, it's all about like answering these user intents, right? So there's like over 20 sports that we cover with the OneBox. There's like 350 broadcasters that we have on the system for now. But we want to see it as being broadly adopted, right? So all the sports and all the leagues basically can have that experience. So all of these different like user interests and fans can actually interact in the same way as they can with football, can with like tennis or cricket. So being that universal adoption, and with anything new, it takes the time to like penetrate the markets. But we've seen that kind of like hockey stick kind of like adoption in the past 1 or 2 years.
One or 2 years.
It's been a good journey so far, and we just, with something like the World Cup coming up, there's obviously like a huge amount of eyeballs on that, and users nowadays, as Vadim said, expect to see that goal pretty much tomorrow in the minute after. So we are very much looking forward to all the partners that adopt that and can help us solve that user need.
Yep. So I'm very interested in the hockey stick adoption path. Why do you think it's like that? What do you think is the user behavior that you train in terms of the individuals here that obviously type in Google, every time, whatever their favorite sport is? Like, what do you need to have your fans do?
I think from our side, when we look at the sports ecosystem, there's obviously like players in different stages of digital adoption. So with something as like automatic and with AI somehow magic to some degree, it takes a little bit of time to be comfortable with it, right? So if I have an editorial team that's been patching together highlights for 40 years, they will get a little bit more defensive about this, right? But what it's essentially doing is like enhancing your capabilities, making sure that you bought rights for billions. Make sure that you get as much content out of that as you can and distribute it. So in a sense, it's like once you got the content, once you got the rights, make sure you get most of the content, and then make sure everybody can basically see it. And search naturally, as one of the biggest platforms, is a great way to boost that.
Yeah, yeah. A question just came in. It's quite interesting. So it depends how you guys want to handle it. Sergi, I'll give it to you. How many people, candidly, do you think are searching Google looking for ways to not necessarily pay to get their content?
Many users. Normally they are quite specific in the way they search.
Interesting.
So you would normally, what we are seeing here are examples of very broad searches. Someone searching for Premier League, someone searching for Arsenal, someone that wants to watch content for free wouldn't do that sort of a search query. They'll be searching for live for free, most likely. Now, luckily, what I would say is Google has been improving in the last few years as well at not giving those sort of sites that much visibility, and we try to get there. And we have our own tactics to try to get there as well and avoid. Yeah, it's a fair question. There's many people, but in this case, OneBox wouldn't appear for those sort of queries.
Yeah, and to add to that, there's the reactive part of like removing malicious content, and then there's the active part of making it easy for users to find that content. So what we've been seeing is that if you make it easy for users to actually find what they're looking for, they might not go the ways that at length to find content that might be not from the official broadcasters.
Right, because ultimately OneBox is the ultimate content aggregator. So it's right there. So I see what you're saying. It's sort of an offensive strategy versus a defensive strategy of removing the malicious content. So, sorry, one quick follow-up question. They're coming in fast now, which is exciting. How many, Sergi, I think this is probably one for you. How many of the clips are available without paying necessarily? And how do you start to decide what's available outside, in my parlance and media, outside the paywall or not?
That's a very good question, because we have had that discussion internally as well, how much we want to give for free and how much we don't want to give. Obviously, we are still in the learning curve, still trying. The first thinking that we have here is we are giving the content after the game has started. most of the acquisition, signing in, signing up experience happens before that. So there's no much risk. But it's a very fair question. We're still trying to figure out if we want to give absolutely everything or not. I know that from WSC, they are more than capable to say, okay, we're just going to show the first half. We're just going to show actions with a couple of goals only. So we can be very specific on what we want to show. And I mean, in the end, the thinking here is if you want to watch a game, you are not happy with just seeing the goal 2 minutes after it has happened. You want to watch it live.
Exactly.
Yes,
I think that, us doing it with the over 40 broadcasters, over 50 unique leagues, grown, we have like amassed quite a significant amount of data. And I think what Sergi said right now is kind of like the bottom line fact, is that it's different audiences. The audiences that want to come watch the game, want to subscribe to it before the game, premeditatively, they would do it. They will search for it, they will, you'll target them with marketing in different touch points across the web, and they'll be yours. The ones that haven't decided they want to do that, and perhaps would never do that if they didn't have this opportunity, is the audience you meet mid-game when you show them that kind of stuff.
At the dinner table.
So yeah, at the dinner table, exactly. So this is kind of all incremental, and I think it's also really great for new audience discovery. That these people that are not really like your core audiences, but will, at the right time, at the emotional engagement point, they become your audience because you show them the right content.
Yep. So in the couple of minutes we have left here, let's look to the future. Marvin, one for you actually from the audience. So you probably were thinking ahead, but I'm going to shift gears on you a little bit. So an interesting question around how are you thinking about parity in terms of search for women and men's sports? I know that's something we talked about when we chatted earlier, but can you kind of give us a window into where Google is headed in ensuring that parity for the future?
Absolutely, it's a talk of the town, right? Especially in a place like England, where given this summer, we very much looking forward to like bring parity to all sports, and that is one on a gender level, but it's also like on a sports level. So why should we treat like football not the same as Formula 1 and all of that? So for us, it's really like serving everyone equal, and women's sports is a big part of that. So we want to ensure that we also, from like a broadcaster perspective, get those folks on board. So we actively onboard like that part of the journey that has been historically underserved. So I think we have a key role to play here to also like make sure that all of this great sports content is actually seen by folks when they search for it. So we're very much looking forward to that, and especially with like the Women's World Cup next year, there's a great moment to celebrate that, but it goes beyond that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just think about your reach. When you have a bigger role to play than almost anyone.
And that's the thing, like users expect that if they search for like the Women Euros, they want to ensure that we have a OneBox in place for their local women league, their like volleyball women league. So we have a really, really key role to play here, and very much looking forward to adopt that.
Vadim, over to you. Latest technology, what's around the corner for WSC?
So I think at the end of the day, we're looking at the ecosystem more and more at what the rights holders need, content owners need to solve the problems of the digital age. Then we try to bring those to market using our like underlying technology with automation at scale. So I think more and more stuff like that, stuff that help discover content, which is obvious, like everyone knows, is the #1 challenge in the digital age. Making content more personalizable. So like I think Marvin can speak later on about like what's coming next with OneBox. So we want to match our game to fit the available slots like right on OneBox to allow all rights holders to utilize all of their content in the right way to be discoverable. So I think that's kind of where our mindset at, as like stories is one format, could be replicated to different formats on different platforms to do pretty much the same thing, help fans discover the content and engage with it in order for the rights holder to start like having a relationship with that fan.
Yep. Sergi, over to you. What's around the corner?
Something that we have been speaking for a while already. I mean, this experience so far has been available for team sports and most of you know, DAZN, we are also big with fight sports and with boxing specifically. So for us, it will be a great opportunity to take part in a similar way within the search experience with boxing and with fight sports.
Excellent. All right, well, audience, thank you so much. This is T&I Stage. You've been terrific. And Cameron, I know back to you to officially close things down, but thank you, gentlemen. It was a great conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we didn't get to all the questions, so folks, they'll be in the back if you'd like to ask anything specifically.
Thanks so much, everyone, for your time. This is, of course, the final session on the T&I stage at Leaders Week, but it's not the final session overall. We do, of course, have Jordan Schwarzenberger speaking downstairs at the headline stage, starting at 16:40. He's the manager of the Sidemen. Yes, the Sidemen, including KSI and all those other guys. You may know them from the boxing, you may know them from the football, but if you're trying to tap into that Gen Z audience, you want to know what this guy has to say. Thanks for joining us this week. That's all we have for now. Please do join us for a drink at the Marriott later, if you're keen.